Welcome back to the Paperback Podcast, and today we're talking about Punk 57. Now, listen, I started this podcast off with a book that I really love and I love talking about and everything, and today I've decided to do the exact opposite. Like, just completely switch, just a full 180. Punk 57 is easily one of the worst books I've ever read. Like, I'm sorry. It just says if you like this book, and honestly, I don't think there are many people that do because I looked at some of the reviews to make sure I wasn't alone and I wasn't a psycho for not liking this book. And there were countless one-star reviews, and most of them were pretty fucking hilarious, I gotta say. I was laughing my ass off. But this book, I love talking about because I can talk shit about it for hours. Hours. But I had to put down this book at least like 60 times while reading it just to process whatever the fuck I just read. So, welcome back. It's the second episode. And this one's gonna be a little more, less, oh, this book is so meaningful and the message, and I love this book. This is gonna be more like, I hate this book, don't read this. Because seriously, don't. And if you've clicked on this video, maybe you've read this book and you were like, let's see if I'm not the only one who hates this book, because I thought for the longest time that I was the only one who like absolutely despised this book. So I went on Goodreads and I looked up this book and it turns out, oh my god, thank god I'm not the only one, because if I was, I would have been seriously concerned for people. So there was one review in particular that really stood out to me because it really, like, it said everything that I was thinking. Everything. Like, totally everything. I'm not gonna read the whole review because it's kind of long and I don't wanna, steal someone's review, because I don't know who they are. Like, I don't have the name written down. But let's talk about, first of all, what this book is even about. Because honestly, when I picked this up and I read the back of it, I was like, you know what? This could be pretty interesting. My thoughts were like, okay, so it's about two people who have been set up as, um what are they called? Pen pals. Pen pals. So like, uh in this case it's like the teachers in their classes, so they're in different schools, different towns, and their teachers have randomly set them up with people. So they got set up with each other in fifth grade, and they've been writing letters with each other for 7 years. So it says at some point at the in the back thing here, um, I need to meet her. I just don't expect to hate what I find. And at the beginning, it says, we were perfect together until we met. So I thought this could be really interesting. Like, this could be a really interesting book about friends and friendship and high school friendships and really getting to know people for who they are, you know, and kind of learning how to deal with that. For some reason, it didn't occur into my mind at all that this was going to be a romance book. Why does my microphone always fall? I say that, but like, I still have it stacked on books here. Why? Maybe I need to move my laptop closer. So, as I was saying, it didn't occur to me at all that this would be like romance. I don't know how I didn't think of that because it's literally a guy and a girl who write letters. It's like a childhood romance thing. But I don't really read romance, so I was like, oh yeah, this is interesting. This is about friendship. My dumb ass. Like, 90% of the books from the selection from what I was picking were romance, so I don't know why it didn't occur to me. Maybe it's because the cover isn't like two people full on making out. I don't know. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but I do. So I don't know. So at first, I was really like, okay, this could be good. Like, it's not usually what I read, but this could be pretty good. Like, I usually read other stuff, but I have always been disappointed in books that are only about people and friendships and relationships, and there's no actual plot. And this is one of them books. So one day, Misha, which is the guy, he is just scrolling online and he sees a girl, and her name is Ryan. So, like, on Facebook, I think. I don't know. They've always agreed no social media, no pictures, and like just not sharing anything that could like connect them to like their actual lives. So one day he's scrolling on social media and he finds a picture of her. Uh, again, what's happening? So he finds a picture of her. Well, he doesn't know it's her yet, but then he reads through the profile picture. And I guess in the letters they've described to each other what they look like. So she has like long black hair, and her social media name, it has like Ryan in it, and she's a high school senior and loves pizza and all this stuff. And he's like, "Oh my god, like this is definitely her." So he finds out one day that she's going to this like concert through her social media thingy. So, despite all the rules they had made for themselves, he was like, I just need to meet her. So he goes to whatever concert he's at. Okay, so I totally forgot about this, but he's actually part of the band of the concert that she's going to. What a small world, right? So he's like, oh my gosh, she's going to my concert. So he goes there and she meets him, but she doesn't know that it's him, but he knows that it's her. So they like talk or whatever. And then he starts going to her high school. Crazy, right? So he's like the new, quiet, mysterious kid, whatever. And he starts to realize, oh my god, I totally like, she's so, like, he finds out basically that Ryan, which is the girl, is totally not like what he would have expected. So, Ryan always says in her letters, like, I hate bullies, and they talk about how much they hate bullies, right? But it turns out in real life, Ryan isn't so innocent. She doesn't directly bully this one quiet kid, but when her friends are bullying him, she doesn't say anything, right? So if you're not saying anything, you're part of the problem, right? So he like sees this and he's like, "Oh my god, she's not what I expected at all." And so despite all this like bullying talk, and for context, in my opinion, I understand if I understand Ryan, because if your close friends are bullying someone, it is kind of hard to actually say something. People always say, yeah, I would say something, but if you're really in that situation, you're not really sure what to do because it's hard to confront your close friends. So, with all this talk about hating bullies and stuff, Misha, the motherfucker, breaks into her house. I'm not kidding. He breaks into her house and he waits in her bedroom for her. You're telling me this is a romance book? Like the genre is YA romance, young adult You're telling me a guy breaking into your house and waiting in your bedroom for you is a romance? That is a straight up horror story. Horror story. Like I said, I had to really compose myself to fucking get through this book. He's in her bedroom, like in her bedroom. She comes home and she's like, um, what you doing there? You know, like what the fuck is going on? They have like this whole argument. She sees he has her diary in his hand, and he's like, he like read through it and stuff, and he's like telling her all these personal things that she wrote, and he's like kind of making fun of her, and he's like, you know what, I totally didn't expect you to like be like this. And she doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about because she does still doesn't understand that that's Misha. So like, what? Th- okay, because I keep thinking about what happens next and the fact that people read this and call this a romance and call this, oh my god, this is so like, this is so romantic. Like, it baffles me. It truly baffles me. Like, it's insane. He he like grabs her and like pushes her against a wall or something, and he's like fucking basically just insulting her and being like, yeah, you're just a fucking bully, like you don't know who you are, like you're so pathetic, like Christ, Penelope Douglas, what the fuck did you go through that made you want to write this book and call this a romance? Genuinely tears in my eyes right now. So what happens next is eventually she figures out that, that's Misha, and she's like, oh my god, you know? Right, so there's kind of like this back and forth, and eventually, by the way, Ryan has a boyfriend. So, but he's kind of like an asshole. So eventually, a thing happens between them. I don't think I need to say what. There's a lot of that in this book, by the way. And honestly, if you want to read that, go ahead. But I genuinely can't read that kind of stuff. I just kind of like, I cringe. I genuinely cringe. So I'm gonna move on from the summary now, and now I'm gonna talk about my problems with this book. And I have a lot of problems with this book. I have a lot of problems in general, but this is about the book. So, first of all, this book is so sexist. It's absolutely astonishing that a woman can write a book so sexist. It's actually, how do you not have a single good female friendship in this book? All the women in here suck. Well, except for the Ryan. Honestly, I kind of like her. But this book is so, it's so like, don't you want to encourage female friendships and kind of not make it normal that women hate on each other? Because all the women here, they slut shame each other, they insult each other, there's so much like talking shit behind each other's backs. I know that like sometimes that's like how it is in real life, but that's not what we should be like encouraging. Like, it's making it so normalized, it's insane. Like, there should be, listen, it's always going to be like that women like talk shit behind each other's backs. We all wish it wasn't, but there is some part of that. But there should at least be one good fucking friendship in here to show you that it's not just because it is often like that it shouldn't be normal, you know? Just because a lot of people are like that doesn't mean it should be normal. So that's one of my problems with this book. The fact that it's so sexist, and like, it's very common that guys will be sexist towards women, but women sexist towards other women? Nah. I can't be reading that. I can't be reading. I know that it's like that in real life sometimes. But there is, there's not a scrap of women supporting each other in this book. And that's insane to me. That's insane to me that as a woman, you would want to put that in a book and you would want people to read that and think that it's normal. No, absolutely not. Next up, and this is the big one. This book is completely romanticizing and sexualizing abusive and toxic relationships. This is why I don't read romance, because from what I've seen, a lot of like the modern like romance books are incredibly toxic. But this one in particular, because I shit you not, this guy is being incredibly possessive of her, calling her a bitch, calling her a the C word multiple times, and then like the next day they like full on make out and like, and be a whole couple and whatever. You're telling me that that's attractive to you? That you want to read that and call that a romance? No. And he's like manhandling her all the time. And it's like, he's like the classic, like alpha male, like mysterious, violent alpha male. And it is fucking 2023. This book was written in 2016. Can we stop normalizing and romanticizing those kind of guys? Because 99% of the time, they're complete assholes who are going to treat you like shit. And Misha, very good example of that. He's talking about, oh, I hate bullying. And then he full on bullies Ryan. Oh. Also, the rest of the guys in the book absolutely sucked. They were disrespectful and absolutely disgusting. In the review that I was just talking about at the beginning of the episode, someone said, this book might be confused with the 50 Shades of Grey high school edition. That is so accurate, because 50 Shades of Grey is also seriously romanticizing an abusive and toxic relationship. This is the same, it's just in high school. It's bad. It's really bad. And this is precisely why I don't read romance. I'm not saying all romance books are like this, but Jesus Christ, it seems like 90% of them are. Also, I personally don't read romance because when I read, I really want to like I like when I like learn something from the book. If you like reading romance, go ahead, that's fine. Like I've read like a few of them that I actually liked. And I feel like romance is a really good subplot for books, but so many times when the book is just about like love and stuff, it absolutely fucking sucks. And I don't think you can call this love, because this is just a toxic relationship that's made to look like hot and attractive and whatever. Oh my god, I cannot stand when people think that these kind of guys are attractive. You know what's attractive? Not being possessive, being caring, not, I don't know, bullying you and degrading you in front of people. Yeah, my big issue with this book is that it's completely romanticizing a very toxic relationship. It's actually insane how toxic it is. It's in this is like, honestly, this and It Ends With Us parallel I mean, It Ends With Us isn't classified as like a romance book, I think. Is it? I gotta look this up now. Because if it is, I'm gonna lose my mind. If you haven't read It Ends With Us, then you don't know what I mean. But it's definitely not a romance book. It kind of seems like it's that at the beginning, but it's not. Oh my god, it says that it's a romance. It really isn't. And I think a lot of people know that, and they don't actually call it a romance book because, we have some common sense. But this is like, I felt like I was reading the same book, but this was actually thought of as a romance. Like the person who read this wasn't like, I mean, the person who wrote this wasn't like, oh yeah, this is definitely about abusive relationships. No, they were like, yeah, this is a romance. Like this is about a romantic high school relationship. And that's what terrifies me. Girly, Penelope, please get therapy if you think that that what you wrote is a romance. Genuinely terrifying. Okay, guys, I found a good scene to show y'all how insane this is. So, okay. Seriously, going. This, like. Oh my god, I'm actually like. How is this a romance? I'm actually baffled. I'm actually, like, astonished. Astonished. Okay, so I actually can't say this on YouTube, but basically to summarize, he so Ryan, she sees Misha with like another girl and they were being like kind of flirty, you know. This is like when they've started to get into a relationship and stuff. So she sees she sees him with another girl and they're being all like flirty and stuff. And like so she's like, what's going on? You know, like a normal human being would react. And so they talk in private. And he's not like, oh, no, like there's nothing going on between us, like between me and her, you know, like I'm with you. That's not what he says at all. In fact, he's like, oh, does that bother you? Like, does it like, he like grabs her and stuff and he's like, does it like bother you? Of course it does. Motherfucker was flirting with another girl, and you're like, oh my god, does that bother you? Mother, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. Jesus Christ. And so she's like, you know, let me go, blah, blah. And he starts talking about, like, oh yeah, she's like so hot. Like, we did this and that. And he's like, tell me you're jealous. What? 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 You telling me that this is what a boyfriend is supposed to look like and supposed to treat me and supposed to act like? Throw the whole damn book away. I wasted my money on this, bro. I absolutely wasted it. Absolutely wasted it. I gotta go pick up the book now because I want to read the rest of the scene. But just 1 second. So she's like kind of playing along with it. She's like, I'm not jealous, and I'm not jealous. You know, like it doesn't bother me. And he's like, tell me you're jealous. Tell me you're jealous. And then he was like, tell me you're jealous. And then he starts like, then he says, tell me you're not trying to think about how much I loved effing her. Tell me something true, and I'll let you leave. This kind of stuff should not be normalized. And these kind of books are precisely why so many women it I was about to say something very controversial. Jesus Christ. Let me try to formulate it differently. Um, these kind of books are part of precisely why so many women think that this is what love is supposed to be like. And this is why women, like, so many women get into abusive relationships. This is part of the reason. I'm not saying that this is like, I don't know, like 10%, okay? Because I almost ate my hair. In media, in books, and everything, 50 Shades of Grey, like, so many women, like, were loving that, and because it was so romanticized, but it was a totally abusive relationship. And there's like this whole genre of books and movies where abusive relationships are normal. Like this movie series called Through My Window. I watched it. I was absolutely horrified because like so many people were fawning over this guy. This whole genre of like books of absolutely toxic guys being romanticized and abusive relationships being sexualized is insane. How can you read this and think to yourself, and how, like, it's so dangerous for women. It's so dangerous, and it's so dangerous that we teach guys that this is how they have to act in a relationship, that they have to be like this tough alpha dude. No, no, that's not what you're supposed to be like, because those guys are assholes. Those are those kind of guys. And you know what she's feeling here? She says it. Fear. Alone, empty, fraud, shame, and fear. Love is not supposed to make you feel like that. No. No. No, absolutely not. That is not what love is supposed to feel like. And this book would be fine if it wasn't called a romance. Because if this book was about an abusive relationship and about teaching women that this is not what relationships are supposed to be like, then that would be fine. But no, this is straight up supposed to be a romantic story about a girl and a guy. How? Just one little change, right? Like, actually, a few changes. If the book sort of ended with her realizing she was in a toxic relationship and she like left or whatever, and this was called just like a novel, then that would be fine. Then the book would be all right. I would actually like reading this. But no, it's called a romance and it has like a happy ending. Like, what? 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 What are you saying? And he is such a roller coaster, an insane roller coaster. He's making her feel all these different, like, negative emotions. Like, okay, first she's like happy to be with him and they're having fun. And then the next 2 seconds, he's like straight up saying that he slept with another girl. And like making her feel all this like fear and like shame, and like anger. And the next second he's like, "Oh yeah, I lied. Like I just want to see how you would react." I'm throwing this book away for the second time because wow. Wow, I didn't realize I could talk about this book so long. Oh my god. Um so I was just about to do a conclusion, but I just realized a third point that I have, which is that this book really, really sexualizes teenagers. Like, okay, I get that during high school and teenage years, you kind of discover all these new things and do all these new things, but the like amount of stuff that they do in this book is insane. No normal teenager does this in real life. This is not realistic at all. And this is part of the reason why kids nowadays are growing up so fast, because they're reading these books and they're watching these series where teenagers are doing all this kind of shit. And they're like, So I gotta do this now. Like, this is what normal teenagers do, right? So, like, oh no, I have to do all of this as well. And this is why kids are growing up so fast. And it's not good. It's not good because of books like this and movies like this and series like this. It's insane. That's another thing I realized in this book. It's like a smaller point, but that's another problem I have with this book and in general a lot of series and stuff is they really over sexualize teenagers. I feel like in some series it's important to talk about sex and it's important to talk about all that stuff, but it's not good to make it normal that, like, especially to, like, it's not normal to make teenagers think that this is what they have to act like, because the amount of, like, I'm sure, like, okay, teenagers have sex in high school, but this amount of, like, sexual activity is insane, and we really should not put it in teenagers' mind that they have to, like, do this, because, like, it's really harmful towards teenagers, and I think that's another issue. I could make a whole video about that as well, but I'm not gonna, because it's not really about books. But yeah, these kids are barely 18, right? And in the book, they've experienced an adult level sexual life. It's insane. Don't implement this in teenagers' heads, right? So I'm gonna go to the conclusion now. In conclusion, I have a lot of issues with this book, and it it really it's sexist, insanely sexist. Like, as a woman, how can you write something like that? Like, do better, man. It really sexualizes teenagers, and the big one, it romanticizes abusive relationships, which is so dangerous, so dangerous. So I would say don't waste your fucking money on this, and you know Jesus, I mean, I left out a bunch of other stuff because the characters actually, they do have depth, you know? Like, like, they have real background stories and they're morally gray and all that stuff. And I actually like that. But oh my god. Like, the guy is insufferable. Insufferable? The guy is insufferable. Insanely. So don't waste your money on this book. I really hated this book. So yeah, that's my opinion. So really don't buy this book. Don't. So yeah, that was it for today. Next episode I'll be doing a book that I actually like, because for my own sanity, I can't do two books in a row. I can't be doing two videos in a row of me talking about books I hate, because I will just be going insane. So next book, it will be nicer, more positive, but I just needed to make a video about this book because um just want to warn people, and just give my opinion. So yeah, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribe. Okay. Bye.